when you're a weak leader, and Sunak is not a leader in any way at all, you're a follower. So you follow what the focus groups say, and you say, by doing this, I can attack the reform vote. That's what it's all about. And look, it's totally impractical. The army has shrunk from 100,000 to 75,000 in 14 years of conservatism. And most interestingly, we have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for. So what do you do?
Who are we talking about there?
Oh, I think we see them on the streets of London every Saturday.
What do they look like? Oh, we're talking about...
What do they look like?
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are. And I'm afraid I found some of the recent surveys saying that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas, support a terrorist organisation.
That's awesome. Dude, Nigel Farage is such a racist. That's dope. Like, he just straight says it sometimes. It's pretty crazy. He openly just said it. Yeah, he's like, yeah, Muslims.
That is prescribed in this country. So we've been, you know, and what's interesting is that this Prime Minister is building up far more of that population than anybody before in history.
Well, this is very interesting, and we don't have that survey in front of us, but let's just unpick what you've just said. Are you sure you want to make the blanket accusation that you've just made that Muslims...
Isn't our friendliness to Vietnam an example of how America can be rehabilitated despite our sometimes horrifying past? Isn't our friendliness to the indigenous population an example of how America can be rehabilitated despite our sometimes horrifying past?
are somehow less patriotic than other British people, because those people on those demonstrations are British.
Did you watch the recent elections that took place up and down the country?
We don't know that, and we don't know they support Hamas. Would you like to revisit what you said at all?
Let's be clear. There is a growing population of people in this country, a lot of them very young, who have recently been voting for and electing candidates, right, up and down the country, in inner cities, who stand for a set of values that are completely, not only don't subscribe to our values, but in many cases are totally against.
Yes, these British Muslims are not in favour of permanent genocide of the Muslim population, whether it be in Palestine, which I don't believe exists, or anywhere else for that matter, and it's positively un-British. Do you know what this country was built on? Permanent genocide of the third world, that is, exploitation of natural resources, even slavery and colonial occupation. Learn the culture and assimilate.
Our values. And the marches, there were some on those marches. Equally, there were lots of upper middle class girls called Jocasta on those marches as well, and I understand that, but we have to face the fact, and at some point by 2029 the Labour Party will have to face the fact that they started a policy of irresponsible open-door immigration, but nobody in history has allowed more people in who are potentially going to fight against British values than Mr. Sunak. And if you look at those figures last week, if you look at the sheer numbers that were coming in last week, you really have to ask yourself some questions.
Well,
the question is, why won't we deport the Muslim British population to Rwanda alongside the many migrants coming in on those little dinky boats? Mocking accents isn't great, not gonna lie. Oh my God, bro. If we can't mock British accents, what can we do? If we can't universally, you did it to Scots earlier too? Yeah, exactly. I did. I'm going to repeat one more time. If we can't mock British accents, what can we do? You must be new here. You want to insult us? I don't understand the aim. First of all, you must be new here, chatter. First and foremost, I mock accents on a regular basis. But if this offends your sensibilities, you must be a Tory yourself. This is a high-class British accent. After all, the accent of the nonce, the Tory, or in Nigel's case, the Brexit Party. So if you're having a problem with the paedophile accent that I'm using here, then I don't know. I call into question your Labour bona fides, unless you're the type of Keir Starmer Labour Party. I'm a student too, mixed immigrant. Okay, well, there you go. Nigel Farage was wrong. Chatters, here it is. Nigel Farage was wrong. You can be a student of mixed immigrant background and still be a dumb fuck who is completely assimilated to British culture. How dare you? How dare you mock? How dare you mock the British accent? How dare you? He's about to say mixed means German and Irish. I was just commenting on the accent thing, not a UKIP person. You cannot be British and be fucking offended if people do it. If you want people not to do it, go back in time, kill the first English bourgeois and the king before they colonize and destroy half the fucking planet, and then maybe we stop. Yeah. I said mixed. Oh, mate. I'm offended when anyone makes fun of accents, that's all. Okay, well, you're a pussy. Then don't talk like that. Have you thought about not sounding like that then?
Is this the thrust of the reform campaign, that actually immigration means that our values are threatened, and particularly we are unhappy about Muslims? Because that is a pretty incendiary proposition.
We have never before.
Imagine me making fun of Nigel Farage and a dude, Nigel Farage, while he's in the process of saying immigrants can't assimilate the British culture of genocide. And the chatter's like, I'm more offended by the fact that you're making fun of his accent. You made fun of the Scottish accent earlier. It's unimaginable. How dare you? It's like, bro, sort your fucking priorities and get back to me, okay? We have a very solid foundation for making fun of accents, okay? You can make fun of any and all accents as long as you're good at it, especially when we're talking about formerly colonized or currently occupied populations, okay? If you can't do it well, then you can't do it. Then it's racist. As far as the British goes, though, 13 colonies, even though they blew that lead, doesn't really matter. It's no holes barred all day, every day. If you had to be good, then why did you do the South African accent? I can't. I can't do the South African accent. And if I was good if I was better at like doing an Indian accent, I would do it. I'm not very good. Just say Africa.
Seen anything like this. You think about West Indian immigration into Britain, the post-World War II.
I think of very little else.
West Indian immigration into Britain post-World War II. You know, there were a lot of shared things there. Shared history, shared culture, shared religion in many cases. most families that came could say one of their family had served with British forces in World War I, World War II, love of cricket. You know, the list goes on, but there were commonalities. And, you know, as you know with your previous job, the key to immigration is integration. If you get integration, it works. What we've done is...
It's a golden copper train.
This works on several levels. What we've done...
I'm going to stop you there, and I'm going to say two things.
Well, here's the difference.
No, I'm going to tell you something about the difference. First of all, you're right. I come from that stock. But let us remember that my stock, my ancestors, for the best part of 700 or 800 years, were Muslims until they were forcibly converted to Christians by slave owners. So when you talk about Muslims as hostile to British values,
No,
I've got to say, I don't really. Let me finish what I'm going to say. I don't really see the. I don't really see.
Yeah, Nigel's looking at him like, yes, you're a perfect representation of assimilation. You are what I'm talking about. Forcible conversion to Christianity. This is what we must do.
How you arrive at that conclusion, and secondly, trying to say to me, you know, actually, you guys are not really like these other guys. I mean, you and I have known each other a long time. Can you imagine how offensive that is to a British Muslim? Let me ask you to put yourself in the shoes of a British Muslim, and can you imagine how offensive that feels?
How many people from your community fail to speak English?
How many people?
From the West Indian community don't speak English.
We all speak English, but actually so do most Indian Muslims, so do pretty much all Pakistani Muslims in this country.
Why do you get to say, why do you have a say in this? He said, I can take you. Dude, why is this allowed? I thought they had like woke ass hate crime legislation in England. What the fuck happened?
I can take you to streets in Oldham where virtually no one speaks English.
I've been there too. But honestly, come on.
The point I'm making is this.
Oh, never mind. He wasn't saying, I can take you. I can take you to the streets of Oldham.
I am not here to attack the religion of Islam, but I am here...
Well, you've just been doing it for 3 minutes.
No, I haven't. I'm telling you the alarming figures that have been coming out of these recent polls, particularly in the wake of what has happened on October the 7th and in Gaza, and we have a real problem here. We want...
All right.
I mean, firstly... All right, numbers on immigration need to be sensible. Otherwise, everyone's quality of life gets diminished. Diminished in every way. Diminished because you can't get a GP appointment. Diminished because you can't travel anywhere without traffic jams. Diminished because getting on a housing ladder is impossible, because we now need to build one new dwelling every 2 minutes.
I want to get on to
and that's apart from...
I want to get on to politics, but I just...
Thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
want to be absolutely clear. And I want to give you the opportunity to be clear, because everything you've just said suggests that the reform platform for this election is every problem you face is down to immigrants and in particular to Muslims. Is that really what you're saying?
No, actually, most people aren't yet affected by this, because the areas with anti-British values tend to be geographically, at the moment, very tightly concentrated. But they do pose a problem.
But you're not resiling from blaming that community.
I'm blaming elements of that community. I'm not blaming them, I'm stating a fact. All I'm doing is stating a fact. No one else dares tell the truth about this. On the broader question,
God, he's such a brave man, dude. Thank you. Thank you for putting a posh accent on what, like, everyone in the EDL has been saying for years. You know what I mean? And then, you know, putting on a suit and going on television to say it. Choppy Toppy, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Sleepy XO, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
The biggest single problem this country faces is the population explosion. And it will not be debated in this election.
This is Labour? No, dude. No. No, this is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is a Tory that swapped over to UKIP. He's like a Brexiteer. No, he's not Labour. Even though you know, the Labour Party, Keir Starmer is awful. This is like, I mean, he's just a straight up fascist. He's the true Brexit geezer.
Why? Because Labour started it and the Tories accelerated it.
Okay.
And that has led to problems on a scale that are unimaginable.
Okay, I want to debate that. And let me start it talking to you about this way. Your flagship policy is zero immigration, net zero immigration, right? I talked to James Cleverly earlier on about the fact that net migration numbers are falling a bit.
No.
Well, I finished as a fact.
No, I'm really sorry. Let's
they are
get this
falling
right.
a bit. They're falling
They
by
are
10%.
not falling, and here's why. Last year's legal migration figures were 606,000 until they were revised later.
I know, they've gone up.
745.
You haven't let me finish my question.
You haven't let me finish my question. But it was the wrong premise.
No, I want to put some facts to you.
I just did to you.
Inward migration last...
How would you beat this argument? What argument? There's no argument. He's just being pure racist. Do you think I have an issue with migration? What the fuck? You know how I beat this argument? By saying, have you eaten British food before? You, sir, have you seen what English cuisine would look like without these migrants that you're sitting here and criticizing for simply existing? Would you dare cause this fine nation to suffer by eating a diet of jellied fucking eels, beans and fucking toast?
The year, end of 22, was 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Actually,
Staggering.
it hasn't fallen in 2023, and in that sense, you're correct.
Oh, thank you.
But what's interesting is who the migrants are. Now, why don't you have a look at this?
Yep.
Indians up 47%, Nigerians up 907%. Now, the reason that has happened is look at the bottom figure. EU figures down 193%.
How does 75,000 equate to 250,000,
It's
141,000? So a tiny fraction.
Let me finish. Well, actually, if you go back further, the EU, the point is, European Union migrants left post-Brexit.
A few, a handful.
No, a lot more, actually. The point I really want to make is this.
I like that they're both racist. like they're literally tackling the argument on different aspects of racism, where they both the unspoken but rather very loud aspect of this conversation is EU migrants good, Indian, Nigerian, Pakistani migrants bad. Like, oh, you did Brexit and now we don't have European migrants coming into the country. You fucked up. It's awesome. God, I love England so much. They're great.
You are complaining about the people who you think don't share British values. You're identifying particular communities. And the point I want to make to you is that by the middle of the century, the white British proportion of population will be down below 2/3. That's the thing that I think you're worried about.
I didn't.
But this is.
I didn't say that.
Okay. The people who are.
Don't put words in my mouth.
The thing that you're worried about is your responsibility. You're the father of the policy that produced this.
No,
that made the EU migrants leave and increased the number of non-EU migrants.
Big load of cobblers I've ever heard in my life. What we did by leaving the European Union was to change a policy, which meant we discriminated against the rest of the world, often against talent, interestingly, in favour of an open door with the European Union. What Brexit did was give us back control of our own, by the way, we're not even discussing Dover, get us back control of our legal migration policy. What Boris Johnson chose to do was to set the bars and the levels at the lowest possible level. He also allowed, for example, students to bring dependents. Whether you have to bring your mum with you to go to a British university is beyond me.
But you might have to bring your wife and children if you're a postgraduate.
Well, I'm sorry, we haven't got room. We've really got to start growing up.
Oh, what a fucking freak, dude. Oh, this is awesome. 34 MKD 50. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. Right at the end of the Golden Kappa train.
Up on this. We haven't got room. We cannot go on. And it's unfair to put this population explosion, which you're very vividly showing on the screen, on the British
Because it's a
people.
fact. It's a fact.
Yeah, what's a fact?
It's a fact.
What is a fact?
It is the consequence of
What
Brexit.
is no, it's a consequence of government policy. You've got to.
Well, it only happened after Brexit.
Because Johnson, despite the fact people like me publicly warned.
It's crazy how confident Hasanabi is in his ignorance. Mass migration destroys Western civilization. We need to send them home. Destroys Western civilization. Brother, you literally are a peasant. Okay? The fuck do you mean? What are you talking about? Yeah, dude, totally. These countries are so much better without migrants coming in. Yeah, we should just keep it to all the racist, inbred fucking douchebags like you. Suck my dick. Without migration, the West would not exist as the dominant force on the fucking planet, idiot. Doesn't even really matter. He probably doesn't even live in the West. No, he probably does. This seems like a very... How is this guy following me since 2020? It fucking blows my mind. Following since January 16th, 2020. First time he talks about it. First time he fucking chimes in. Mass migration destroys Western civilization. We need to send them home. Ay, ay, ay. This guy's German. Remigration is an AFD talking point. Yeah, real punk values such as Western immigration is falling apart because of mass migration. The real issue in both England and in every other Western country that is destroying Western civilization, not to say that like Western civilization is supreme by any means, is unironically capitalism. It is the corrosive influence of capitalism. It is the austerity. Okay? You're dumb as fuck if you don't recognize that and then blindly fucking finger point at like people that you consider to be lesser than you. Those people worked hard to get to the country that you're in. You didn't do shit. You just crawled out of your fucking mother's pussy, okay? And now you take that shit for granted. Western civilization.
If you set the salary thresholds at this level, there was another massive opening up in 2021. This is conservative policy. And of course, there's no opposition to it because Labour dare not even debate the issue. This has been done by, if you want mass immigration, vote Conservative. If you want mass immigration, vote Labour. If you want a proper debate about why this is the most impactful policy on everyone's life in this country, then we're the people to talk to in reform.
Are you essentially denying that you have anything to do with the change in
100%
immigration policy?
100. We said was...
Even though the point of your whole campaign was to put it under our control.
This is crazy. This is actually crazy. They're literally having this conversation about like the white number diminishing in England as a consequence of Brexit. Like, how is this guy that's supposed to be on the right side of this argument pushing this position just tackle the fucking fundamental problem with what he's saying, which is that immigration is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it is a good thing. Immigration is a good thing. Okay?
Yes. Boris Johnson used it in whatever, you can argue about it, but it was
your argue. Look at the figures.
It was your.
Like, I personally don't think this dude is a white supremacist. Okay, obviously, okay, he's not white. I think that I think is he a labor guy? I don't even know, but you know, labor guys are always. That doesn't necessarily mean they're correct on their politics. But the problem with liberalism is that they endlessly try to look for like hypocrisy, and sometimes they fail to tackle the real issue. In an argument such as this one, the real issue isn't like, oh, he's hypocritical because he wants to maintain a white majority or whatever. Immigration isn't necessarily a good thing. You can't use American framing in the EU. Wait, what? Why is it, first of all, Brexit means Brexit, love. Not a part of fucking EU. And secondly, why? Why is it a bad thing? Migration is a massive topic for European chatters such as myself, and it's possible to agree with you on economic issues while disagreeing on migration issues. And two things can be true, both capitalism and migration being harmful. EU chatters, are you guys okay? Because it's not always an educated population that's migrating. Wait, what? Guys, you think everyone that migrates to the United States of America is fucking educated? What are we talking about? Hello? The fuck? Bro, what is happening? Europeans love being like, America's so racist, and then like this topic comes up and they just fucking lose their minds. I'm not saying not everyone is educated. I'm saying it doesn't matter. I don't think you understand. You're saying not every migrant that's coming in is educated, and I'm saying it doesn't fucking matter. They're still human beings. And not only that, but also they can fulfill a role regardless in society. Migration only becomes a problem if the government doesn't have adequate ways in dealing with it, opening up opportunities for the migrants that are coming in. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't think Western community want to do that for brown people. Okay. Yeah, it's called racism, big dog. The fuck? Focus on the real problem then. The irony is that England, despite being a fucking island, has so much untamed land still. Okay? The population is super dense in places like London and whatnot, but the reality is there's so much fucking space. This also fails to consider the uneducated, people born in England. UK chatter here. There's broad political consensus across the board for lowering migration. Even the Greens want to lower it. We haven't even got building space for a massively growing population. There's no political will for increasing building, but there is for lowering immigration. Exactly. That's the problem. This is a major issue. As we have discussed here in the United States of America, that's not true. England is the densest Western country. England still on top of that still has a shit ton of land that you could build on that they have not. It's easier there for lowering migration. Even socialists in the UK agree on this. Yeah, I don't care. Like, I disagree with other socialists here in America as well. Just like I disagree with the Democratic Party almost all the time. Just because there's a politically good thing to argue for does not mean that it's the right thing. There's a stat from Liverpool that states the young kids for GCSEs and a middle school diploma now have their grades boosted thanks to kids from immigration families. Yeah. EU also keeps importing this racist brain rot to neighboring countries who didn't have issues with immigration before, like in Tunisia. The EU paid off the president with IMF-style loans with the condition to hold the sub-Saharan immigrants And since then, fascism has taken over the country with countless hate crimes against everyone black, even black Tunisians. I can't believe we're listening to fucking Nigel Farage talk about how massive of a problem migration is and how Muslims are not assimilating to British culture. And there are like 25, 30-month EU supposed socialist chatters in here that are like, well, you know, this Nigel Farage guy who is a fucking die-in-the-wool fascist, but, you know, he's got some good ideas. God damn. It's crazy. You're not ready for the EU racism, man. It's unimaginable here. No, I see it in Turkey too. Trust me, I know.
Or responsibility that put it in Boris Johnson's hands. He then used it in a particular way. Now, you might want...
No, I'm really sorry, but that is absolute rubbish. Getting back control of our own country means we can't blame the European Union.
What do you say about the Muslim not assimilating part? It's fucking bullshit. You're literally, at most, pointing to like insane fucking fundamentalist, you know, oftentimes second generation, third generation Muslims to be like, this is how the entire Muslim population is. It's basically a repackaged version of like what we already dealt with many times over, the grooming gangs, if you recall. Meanwhile, half of the fucking Tories in the Parliament House are directly raping children. And they're like, oh, the grooming gangs. The grooming gangs is a massive problem. It's fucking bullshit. It's classic reactionary thinking to blame the fault of a couple reactionary, the reactionary few, and saying they're all like this.
Okay, we can't blame anybody else. Those figures, this was done by a Conservative government, and they thought they'd get away with it.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we haven't got all day to argue the toss on this, but I just want to ask you something about your own objectives in politics. You've decided you're not going to run yourself.
With regret. With regret. I had planned.
Why do you regret? What's wrong with it? Why didn't you run?
Because I had a plan.
Which is?
A 6-month plan to come back and campaign full-time for 6 months. The election was announced. It was a shock to me. It wrong-footed me. It's wrong-footed a lot of people. I'll be honest about that. And I took the view, I can't campaign around the country for the party or come on your show, do those things, if I've got to start from scratch, 6 weeks in one constituency. And that was the logic of what I chose.
This is really scary stuff overall. Like, seeing anti-immigrant sentiment expressed so comfortably is genuinely terrifying. Oh, God. This brain rot is going to lead to a fascist collapse, which is already here, really.
In the end, either Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer is going to be in number 10. You've got to...
I'm a first-generation Muslim extremist immigrant, and most people don't know I'm not from here until I tell them my name. We will start a caliphate in Canada. That's right, brother. Let's keep it going, okay? Shh, don't tell anyone else our plans, okay? What are you doing? Don't say it openly, dude. What the fuck? You're going to freak them out. They don't need to know until it happens, okay? A kebab shop in every corner and Sharia law for all, okay? Shh. Shh.
To at some point choose one of them. In the last election,
Come off it.
And in the last election, you pulled your candidates against sitting Tories
For a historic reason.
which essentially meant the Tories got back in. Are you going to do something like that at the same time this year? In that case, is your aim to destroy the Conservative Party or to reform it?
The election's over. The election's over. I mean, by the way, isn't it the most boring stuff?
He's not wrong. It is over for the Tories. Ugh, okay. I don't want to do more of this. This is like killing my